listening to the Hometown Losers, the St. Louis Sports Podcast, with Josh, Adam, and OJ.
Hey everybody, welcome back here to the Hometown Losers Podcast. This is session number 45. I am joined as always by the co-host here, and Adam and OJ. Gentlemen, how are we doing today?
Adam is doing great. How are you, OJ?
I'm doing well.
That's good to hear.
Don't got anything wrong with my throat or anything like that.
Yeah,
I think
I'm
Josh,
unfortunately, coming off of a cold or dealing with a cold right now. It's one of those things that's kind of going around. I thought it was just from like the weather change, because me sleeping with a fan that typically messes like I wake up with like a stuffy throat or stuffy nose and stuff like that or anything like that. But it's been like progressive, and then I found out my sister's sick, and I'm like, oh, that would make
everybody
sense.
getting sick apparently.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Sure. It sucks.
But yeah.
Hey, it's going to be
sucks,
65 yesterday, and it was a wonderful, beautiful day, and then tomorrow's supposed to snow, so there you go.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yesterday was good weather. But before we even get to the show, I do got to say that my thoughts and prayers are with the victims at Kansas City. Adam, I know that you were there, not obviously dealing with all the craziness that happened there, but my prayers and thoughts are with the people that are affected with what happened at the parade. And it's just it really sucks that some bad people can really just break up a joyous occasion, for sure, and a celebratory one at that. So definitely want to put that out there. It's been weighing on me a lot. There, a lot of kids were injured. Obviously, it's just senseless. And obviously, it sounds like they already got everybody or most of everybody that was involved, in cuffs. So, and hopefully there's going to be healing that happens.
Yeah, hopefully so, because it was an awesome day, all the way up to that point. Beautiful weather. Everybody was having a great time. I was there at the parade, like you said, and I was actually in the middle of like where the parade route was, but of course the shooting occurred right after the rally there at Union Station, and sadly there were multiple injuries. I think about 22 or 23 people, and about 8 or 9 of them were children. I know one woman was killed, sadly, and several others are certainly in critical condition, which is, my thoughts go out to them and their families. So tough time for sure. How we went from such a high, incredible feeling to such a low in the matter of a second, it felt like. So.
Yeah, it's amazing how that can quickly change. But I give kudos to Trey Smith. I give kudos to Andy Reid and a bunch of the other players that were also trying to help and calm people down, stuff like that. It just shows you that you can use your platform for good. And
like they always say, look for in those situations, look for the helpers. So those are the feel good stories that we need to get through this sad situation.
Yeah, it's terrible.
So anyways, go on, Ali. Sorry.
I was just saying, give my condolences too. So
it's just a real difficult thing for the city to have to deal with. But this is the other thing that's kind of odd. And Adam, I said this to you, I think yesterday. This is the third championship trophy in a row that there's been shootings at. It started back in this past June. Which would have been when the Denver Nuggets won the NBA championship, and then when Texas Rangers won the World Series, there was also another shooting, and now in Kansas City. So it's hopefully it's not like going to continue, and hopefully this is not a sign of shit that's going to continue to happen. It's like, all right, well.
Yeah, and this was unrelated, from my understanding. It wasn't like this was
it was completely unrelated. Yeah, it wasn't targeted.
I think
that's what I kind of thought I heard.
Yeah. Apparently, according to the news, the press release, is that there was an altercation, some disagreements and arguments and whatnot, and you get a million people in one place, and unfortunately, tempers can flare.
It's insane that it just goes to guns like that so quick, though. That sucks.
Yeah, it really sucks.
Well, I'm telling you, and OJ, it's crazy. So, Adam, I know you know this story, but I was playing in a softball league down at Brentwood, and it was the championship game. It was against two teams that were really good. They were very loud, and like one of just those teams that like, talked a lot of smack and stuff like that. They were both knew what was on the line. Both of them were really good, and a lot of smack was talking. A questionable call gets made, and everything gets heated, and it starts to get to the point where it looks like fists are about to fly, but fists don't fly. A guy pulls out a gun.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, all right, it's time for everybody to leave, and it's just amazing that that's how it happens. As you said, so quick. I mean, I feel that is how everybody is now. That's their first reaction is just to grab a gun because that's the only way you can get hurt, which is not the case, obviously. It's just a real sad reality of it.
Maybe people are too afraid to take a beating these days. I don't know.
Yeah, that's the truth, man. Like if I have some convictions towards something where I'm gonna like get in somebody's face and argue with them, I'm at least gonna take a beating for it. That's how strong I'm gonna stay in my convictions.
Well, yeah, because like a normal person's not like, oh, I'm just gonna kill you over most things.
Over something, over a game or whatever, over a simple argument.
That's
how many arguments do we all get into? We've all been in arguments, of course, but we don't just immediately think, oh, I'm going to pull out a gun and, commit some horrible act like ending somebody's life. So
I guess for some reason we're producing more psychopaths, or maybe just the population's bigger, and so
I think it's more, just.
I don't know.
I think it's also the isolation. I mean, for the fact that we grow up in pretty much social media, we don't grow up talking to people anymore. And I think that people just don't know how to react in certain situations. You know what I mean?
That definitely could be a big part of it. Because, like, I can't even imagine how some of these younger people must view the world, given that they grew up on Twitter and shit. Like, I got to grow up, like, I was a kid, like, before internet actually was, a thing,
Mm-hmm.
I came up with it, but like, I didn't even have a cell phone, much less a smartphone until I was 16. So like,
I was I was even out of college before any of those days. So yeah, I'm old ass. I grew up in the 90s, in the late 80s and 90s. So, things were completely different. So, I was born in 85. So most of my
I'm about to say 85. Yeah.
Yeah. 85. So most of I'm not like, way up there, but definitely, old, but hey, we didn't have cell phones in school, like that wasn't a thing, it just wasn't. So, and now everybody's got cell phones in school, and I'm not, saying one way or the other. It's just a totally different time of growing up for sure. And, and we've always had violence, but never, it just feels like we have people that resort to it too quickly. First jump, and which is sad because, like you said, back in the day, people would never. Well, I shouldn't say would never, but certainly it was not at the rate that we see it nowadays. It feels like just immediately grab a gun and start, spraying bullets into a crowd.
Yeah, exactly. Like, how many Macy's Days Parade did they have in New York that were just massive? People would get shot up.
And I was even commenting actually about how I felt so safe down there. And like, it was such a wonderful occasion. Like, I literally parked in the parking garage right next to the parade route. There was no security. There was no barriers. There's no metal detectors. It was just, it was a free and open society, exactly the one the type of society we want to be a part of. And I was thinking, wow, I even made the comment. I was like, man, Kansas City just seems like, no offense to St. Louis, but felt like such a safe and clean city, And I made that comment, and not even an hour later, this occurs. And I'm like, holy crap, it can literally happen anywhere. So,
yeah. To be fair, and from what I understand, the Missouri side of Kansas City is the nicer side too. So
and that's where it occurred. So
exactly. So,
but anyway, hopefully everyone though, is able to heal. I mean, it's sad that of course there's one death, but hopefully we can just keep it at one, and everybody else is able to recover.
Full recovery.
And I've heard at least all the kids are supposed to recover, no deaths. So that's at least a relief there.
Yeah, big blessing there for sure.
Yeah.
So, well, let's go ahead and get on to some brighter news. And from that, but I thought definitely important for us to start that way and make sure that everybody in Kansas City there that was dealing with that's in our thoughts and prayers, and I give them some support. But let's talk a little bit about the Blues, guys. Really not much update except for the fact that, there is now, excuse me, an update to where they stand in the standings. So taking a look from last session here, they are actually 28, 22, and 2 now for 58 points. Since the last time we talked, they've gone 4-2, which is pretty impressive. They've been doing very well of winning a lot of games. We are now 4th in the Central, which is 1 up from the last time that we talked when they were at 5th. We are 14 points behind the Dallas Stars for the new leader in the Central. It's crazy that seems that it keeps going from the Avs to the Jets to now the Stars. The first place seems to change almost like every week to every 2 weeks. And we've actually gained traction on that. We were last session, 15 points behind the Jets, obviously 14 points behind the Stars now. So tighten up a little bit. We are currently in a playoff spot, gentlemen.
We are.
Yes.
The last I checked, we were tied with the Kings, weren't we?
Yeah, we are right now. Yes, we are. We are in that last wild card spot, tied for the first wild card spot. And crazy enough, we're 11 points out of the third spot, which is nuts. At 6 games, or 5.5.
Predators, I think.
That way.
Yeah,
I believe so. Right?
I thought it was Trashville.
Yeah.
It's
called Trashville before. No. They're behind us. They're behind us.
Yeah, that's what I meant to say. That's what I'm saying is that they're in 3rd place, aren't they?
No, they're behind us. They only have 56 points. We have 58 points. So I believe in this.
What position would that be then? So we're in 2nd place. They're in 3rd, right?
Are you talking about for the wild card spot?
Yes.
Yes, they are on the bubble. They're in the first team that does not have a wild card spot. Yes.
Right. So that would mean that they would be in the 3rd slot, right?
Yeah, no, you're right though.
Right, yeah.
Okay. That's what I was trying to get through.
Winnipeg.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah. We're chasing Winnipeg, excuse me, which is the 3rd place team with 69 points. So again, got a little bit of work to do there. But again, we are in a wild card spot, so hopefully we can keep that and close down that the distance. We have some games to do it. We are now currently in the 8th, which has moved up 1 from last session when we were at 9th. We are 20 points behind the Canucks, which is actually losing ground to the winning the West, but it is what it is at this point. We are 17th in NHL. Last time we talked, we were 19th, and we are 20 points behind the Canucks still, who leads the NHL. So we made some great headway here for sure, and it's just about the Canucks trying to stay in front of Vancouver.
Vancouver, yeah. Yeah, it's definitely been interesting. It's definitely noteworthy for sure because we've been showing a bit of a strong performance on the road recently. We kind of had that streak going there for a little bit. And even players like Kyrou, he was making some significant contributions and he even scored his 100th career goal. I think it was the big game, the game during the Super Bowl where they actually scored. We call it a touchdown, as in they won 7-2.
7-2.
Yeah, against the Habs. Before the Chiefs scored a touchdown, it's like, well, at least we had somebody score a touchdown today. So they were giving them some shit for it. But
that's something that you would have laughed about, OJ, is that they tweeted out and said at least one team has scored
in Missouri,
scored a touchdown today. That was from the Blues account because the Chiefs hadn't scored a touchdown.
They were struggle bus. They were on the struggle bus the first half for sure. So
I would prefer they don't acknowledge their existence at all. So
come on,
enough with this cross promotion bullshit.
But either way,
well. That's fine. I'll go ahead and promote it. Congratulations to the Kansas City Chiefs winning back-to-back
it's hard.
It's hard. They didn't need the cheat.
Well, I'm surprised you're able to say that clearly with Roger Goodell's dick in your mouth.
Oh my God! I'm not a Patriots fan. Sorry.
It's hard not to acknowledge the fact that because it is a Super Bowl and it was only the most watched event since the fucking moon landing. So. It has confirmed my belief that the Super Bowl is fixed. That the entire NFL is fixed. Too many. As long as it's fixed for the Chiefs, then that's great. So exactly. For now, it is for now. They'll cycle to a new team once they've accomplished their objective. There you go. All right. I'm good with that.
they sat in the boardroom and planned this all out years ago. Like, ESPN, baby.
all that aside, OJ, you have to admit that 3 Super Bowls in 5 years is pretty damn impressive, right? I mean, I know you're not an NFL fan. All right, that's fine. Let's just move on here.
We're talking Blues here, so hey, maybe we can get him another cup. Here. All right.
Yeah, there you go.
That'd give him that would give him something to cheer about.
I'm all for that.
There you go. Yeah, OJ, what's your thoughts on the Blues so far? You mean, like, obviously I feel that they progressed, and it's weird because when we talked about this, like, for the past couple of sessions, it's kind of like they can go either way. I'm starting to feel more positive about this team, that they're kind of showing who they are. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I don't know whether to trust it or not. I mean, but it is starting to feel like you're actually starting to see a more consistent effort night in and night out as far as paying attention to the smaller things. Like, I don't know, like, they seem to be executing well. Like, they seem like a good hockey team. I mean, they're they're winning against some pretty good teams at times, you know.
You know what's interesting? I just wanted to chime in here real quick. So they just did a recent poll, and they had, like, most overrated teams, this, that, and the other, like, just different stats and whatnot, and different polls. And the most underrated team this season so far, and it's the Blues. So interesting enough, they're definitely most underrated. So I think a lot of people are just kind of gave up hope on the Blues, and they're actually showing up and showing out here a little bit. So
there's still people all over the internet that want them to sell at the deadline too.
Yeah, but they're not a terrible team though. They're not terrible. The fact is,
the worst thing that could happen is that they sneak into the playoffs and get eliminated in the first round. It's like, go fuck yourself. If you think that, go fuck yourself. Just stop watching sports. You can't have fun with anything.
Right.
Yeah. If we're not dominating, then we're not having fun.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
If we're not a super team, on paper best in the league, then we might as well not even try.
Okay, so I get
we lost. Yeah.
But we're we're also, let's face it, we're in a division where I think we can be competitive enough to actually get into the playoffs. Like, I think that while there are a couple of runaways for sure, I think we are competitive enough that we can definitely secure a spot for sure in the playoffs. And who knows, from there, what's possible. I mean, we've seen, we've obviously seen us go all the way, but the fact is that sometimes we can go rather deep. We can at least, possibly get to second round and maybe further. Who knows? But it depends. It also depends on who's held. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say 2011, 2012 Los Angeles Kings fought for the playoff lives, got in as an 8 seed, and then only lost 2 games. They went 16-2 in that Stanley Cup run.
You know why?
And then I think they repeated it again a couple years later.
That's true.
And that's the point. We have the main ingredient of that recipe as well, which is good goalie, and we have a pretty good goalie tandem, it seems.
Right.
So you definitely capable of stealing series for us.
And I've been seeing some improvements with some of our team, including Kyrou as well. So, which is great to see.
Yeah. Well, they're playing.
He's trying to prove me wrong because I know he listens.
They got
that's for sure.
Prove us wrong. By the Leafs. They did get shellacked by the Leafs last night, but or last game. But this game they're looking good against Edmonton. So
they're up by what 3?
I think it's Yeah, I guess sometimes you're just gonna get your ass kicked by good teams.
That's the NHL, yeah.
Yeah.
And the Leafs are not a bad team either, but you're facing
they're a really good team.
Yeah, and you're facing the Oilers, which has been the hottest team in the NHL. They were 1 away from tying the win record. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's saying something. I mean,
they won like 16 in a row.
They were going for a record. I mean, they missed it by what? 2 games, I think, to set a record. 1 game to tie it.
Well, to set it, yes. 1 to tie it.
And 1 to tie and 2 to set it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
and
the fact that we're showing up.
So I mean, like, again, that's my thing about it is I'm okay and comfortable if the Blues beat the teams that they're supposed to beat, be competitive against the teams that are around them, and then maybe get your ass smacked by like Vancouver or the Golden Knights. But if you're able to be competitive against those teams as well, I mean, again, it just shows you that we have playoff tenacity right now. Maybe we don't have that experience because, I mean, again, I think that plays a lot into it later on. We'll see. We'll see how everything plays out. Obviously, hopefully we can get into the playoffs. That's going to be the biggest key. And then, going from there, you never know once you get into the playoffs.
Well, we've got, about 2 more months of hockey, and we'll see how it goes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because that 7-2 game, that was against Montreal, right? That was
that was
the Habs.
Yes, yep.
Yeah, so that was like one of the first times in a while that they've made a bad team look like a bad team. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's encouraging 100%. Too. They're showing a lot of positive signs to be hopeful for the future with them. Yeah. With the team we have now, much less adding Jimmy Snuggerud or some of the other prospects they got on the way. Like, looking pretty.
That's the other thing is like some of these prospects are starting to look real legit, and so I'm getting pretty excited
Kessel?
For that.
Who's this Kessel guy? He came out of nowhere. All of a sudden, Jesus Christ, he's Colton Parayko 2.0.
Well, it's funny.
From what he was
going quickly through the book. I'm like, is this Phil Kessel's kid? Because he looks like stupidly fast for a defenseman. I'm like, what the hell is going on? I mean, he's just got good skating mechanics, you know what I mean? But it's like Colton Parayko 2.0. You're like, what the where did he come from? So
and I guess he's kind of a bigger guy, I guess, but he's also he doesn't like
he's 6'2".
He seems like he's got the makings of a guy that's gonna be really good in his own end. Like he already is pretty good, but I mean I think he could be a shutdown guy, it looks like. He's really good with the puck, it seems like, in his own end. He doesn't turn it over a whole lot under pressure. Mm-hmm. He's made some mistakes, but like in general he seems to make like just smart plays with the puck and everything. It's like awesome. Like let's get more of that.
Well, he's already had an assist tonight, so there you go. Already 1 point on the board for him.
I think it's a point in favor of the theory that you can't have all small skill defensemen. You need a balance. You need some big bruisers too.
Yeah. I would 100% agree with that. Yeah. Well, it's going to be interesting to see how this season plays out for the Blues, but I think that we're kind of all in the same area in the consensus here that, this looks to be good. Hopefully we can keep it going. I keep waiting for the other shoe to drop here, but hopefully it doesn't. And we get in the playoffs looking good and, kind of go from there. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it. They're making at least Blues hockey a little more exciting to watch now. That's for sure.
Yeah. And
I'm into that.
I don't want to maybe hopefully this isn't like too big of a topic to discuss, but it's weird. Like I've noticed a lot of these games they win, they look okay in them, but they get outshot by like a lot, right? Like right now it's like 27-18, but they're up 3-2 and they've had, I don't know what the, high danger chances look like and stuff like that. That's probably much closer, but it's like their style is just completely like rope-a-dope now. Like they play like, Minnesota does in soccer, right? Like they just hang back, let you turn the puck over and get too deep in offensive zone and then try and get an advantage the other way. But yeah, it's I don't know. I'm starting to question whether the only way to have success in hockey is to possess the puck, right? Like some teams intend to not possess the puck the ball the majority of the time in soccer. I wonder if you couldn't make a similar strategy actually work in hockey. Even though like analytics treat it as if, you have to have the puck all the time in order to win games,
So I can kind of speak a little bit to that. So when it comes to that, I mean, there is an ideology of playing like a trap game and stuff like that. But typically you do that when you know that team that you are facing is vastly superior to you. The reason why it is such a risky move is for the fact that you're going to get worn out, especially your defensemen, your forwards and stuff like that. So when it does come time for a counter, and you do have offensive possession, everyone's going to have to switch out. And at that point, you're going to have to hope that you're going to be able to keep that rotation. That it's just a difficult thing to do because it's easier to skate with the puck than go chase the puck. You know what I mean? It's just like what they say. It's the same thing in like football and baseball. If you're doing the action, it's much easier to do that than, go chase a person. So absolutely. I think that is one of the reasons why definitely analytics will show you that it's less successful than anything else. if to do something like that, you have to have an incredibly stellar defensive line. And I'm not just talking about like, line one. Pretty much all your D has to be able to rotate well, play very responsible hockey. And of course, you need a ridiculously good goaltender. The 2003 New Jersey Devils kind of played this way. And I'm pretty certain that was one of the years that they won the Stanley Cup. That's because they kind of they had a good top line, but their top line, you have Evil and Kovalchuk, but was there, and obviously it was like their main scoring threat. But you had Steve Madden. Steve Madden was like a nobody. It was like a Chuck Knobloch, so to speak, or I guess to put it in like better terms for like St. Louis people, it'd be like a David Eckstein, a good player, but no one knows who they are. He's loved in New Jersey, but he does the little things well, but he's not going to get huge name recognition, and stuff like that. So it just allowed them to be able to be more aggressive, but they had a really good defensive line. Scott Niedermayer was there. They had oh my goodness, his running partner that I can't remember now. But regardless, it can be done, but it's very, like, you have to have Hall of Famers to be able to do that consistently, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, well, I guess I don't know if it matches up to exactly the way New Jersey played, because like.
Yeah, and it's a different time too. So.
Yeah, because like I don't know that a lot of these trap teams really give up the kind of differences in shot totals that the Blues do, but like maybe I'm just wrong about that, but that wasn't my impression of how it usually looks. So I don't know. I just feel like they're doing something a little weird, but it's working out for them because like nobody thinks that the Blues have good defensemen, but they do seem to be playing. They just collapse into the house, and they do get caught out there sometimes. But for some reason, it's been working. I don't like.
Yeah, and at this point of the season, you definitely don't fix what's not broken. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
definitely need to keep playing that out.
Well, speaking of things that
are just took down Corey Perry. It wasn't the best fight, but Scandella won. So just thought I had to put that out there.
Yeah, I just had to chime in. Speaking of don't fix what's not broken. I obviously wanted to talk real quick a bit too about the Cardinals and them in their new uniforms, because man.
Yeah, that definitely was our next subject. So yeah, start us out there.
Travesty.
Wow. So basically, Nike Vapor Premier uniforms. It's a Fanatics uniform, and anyway, it was a bold move by Major League Baseball to, quote, aim to enhance player performance through cutting edge technology and design. And that's their quote.
It's marketing for cheaper materials and labor techniques.
They claim that apparently the intention of making this move was to improve apparently athletic fit, mobility, comfort. The comfort is commendable. And in fact, I don't know if you saw, but there's actually a quote from Arenado that they're putting out.
Please read it.
I will.
Please. It's so fucking hilarious.
I'll have to pull it up here in a minute.
Oh, okay.
The execution, though, obviously has sparked controversy amongst not only us fans, but also the players, because they are not a big fan of the design or the fit or the font sizes, the colors, literally the fact that they feel cheap. I know that I think it was Michaelis who recently came out, and he was like really unhappy with this because of the fact that the pants was not customized or could be customized to the proper fit that he was used to. Also, the feel of it was very cheap. And it seems to me that if you're going to introduce this standard across the board, which apparently they've standardized the lettering, the height, even the colors and how they have to be outlined on the uniform, it wasn't executed well at all. In fact, I'm trying to pull up that.
Yeah. Are they trying to use like the same size letters for every player?
It seems like there is, yes. And it's going to be very difficult because it's scrunched in some instances, and it's also kind of like arched as well. God. And it's hard for people to really decipher it. But Nolan Arenado really says
corners.
They did. And so Nolan Arenado was quoted as saying, quote, "The Nike Vapor Premier jersey is soft, light, and comfortable. It's almost like wearing my favorite shirt out on the field and so easy to move around it."
You gotta say the hyphen. It's so easy to move around it. There's no fucking way he gave that quote.
I mean,
if he does, you can tell that it's like heavy sarcasm.
He's reading from a script if he actually said that.
They literally had multiple in the press release. It was funny. They literally had several players have their feedback.
Yeah.
Because there was also some other feedback. The jerseys this season are much more breathable with vents on the numbers and airflow all around. It's really going to make a big difference during those hot summer days while I'm in full gear. And okay, so
who said that one?
That was
Swanson.
No, that was Adley Rutschman from the Orioles. Baltimore Orioles. Yep.
Yeah.
So apparently,
make sure to point out the vents.
The vents, yeah.
And those vents, I guarantee you, so they can use less fabric.
Probably. Well, what they're saying, the statistics on this is it's breathable, lightweight, high-performance fabric made from at least 90% recycled polyester yarn. 25% more stretch that allows the jersey to dry 20% faster with moisture wicking dry fit ADV technology to help ensure athletes stay cool all game long.
Yeah.
So so if they want,
these are going to fall apart.
That's my concern is that the quality is not there. No offense to Fanatics, but we all have seen Fanatics jerseys and apparel in general. Fanatics quality apparel, in my personal opinion, has always been very cheap.
Mm-hmm.
It used to be decent, but they've been terrible for the past 2 years. Adam, go on.
Absolutely
you talk about your hoodie.
It is like everything that I buy from Fanatics winds up like just falling apart or like just in general. Like I just had that Chiefs shirt that I bought that was that I wore to the game New Year's Eve, right? I wore it 2 times. I wore it to this, and I wore it for the Super Bowl. So basically, I've worn it maybe 3 times or whatever. Basically, I've worn it since that game on against the Bengals, and then I've worn it every playoff game since because it was, sort of a good luck charm, so to speak.
Yeah, for sure.
And because we were always winning ever since that point. Well, anyway, I wore it, for the Super Bowl. I threw it in the wash, dried it, and I'm not even joking. The lettering, like my dryer is not a really high heat dryer. In fact, it's one of those all-in-one type devices that actually uses like water vapor and a heat pump. It's all built in one. Not to get too technical here, but the point is the lettering literally ended up sticking to itself in the dryer, and I had to kind of pull it apart, and it just ruined the decals on it. So I'm like, wow, guys, I've worn this thing 3 or 4 times, and it's already coming apart.
Yeah,
this is shit. And it's the same with any other fucking quality from it. Is that everything crackles and everything just the threading is shit. I seen that with I went to Rally House even, and I was looking at some of the stuff that even Fanatics was selling per se, and the quality was just complete garbage.
Yeah.
You put this in the major league, and you expect these guys that are out there playing that this thing isn't just going to fall apart.
Yeah. That's what I was saying. If somebody bought an authentic jersey or whatever a couple years ago, it's going to be higher quality than the jerseys they're going to be wearing on the field.
I just can't believe that Nike would allow them to even. I mean, I know that they did the licensing for it, but if I was Nike, I would be embarrassed.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to buy
putting my logo on that product. because that's going to impact their perception, the brand perception,
100%. Because people are like, oh, this Nike shit
This
sucks.
is Nike shit. And the Nike, and they're actually not calling it the Fanatics, whatever. They're calling it the Nike Vapor Premier uniform. So they're marketing it as a Nike product.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But here,
I was really surprised.
I was gonna say I've got a quote from the Post-Dispatch that will also reveal some of the techniques they use. It says, "A look Tuesday at the jersey shows how the chain-stitched logos are done onto 2 patches and then applied to the jersey on either side of the buttons instead of chain-stitched directly into the jerseys as before." So those big old bird on the bat logo they got, they used to stitch that on there. Instead, now they chain-stitch to patches and then they apply them to the jersey. So that means it's going to be like the heat
transfer
fucking shit. Yeah. It's going to be bullshit that's going to come off if it gets too hot, for instance, like probably what happened to your stuff.
Yeah. And did you see the new Dodgers jersey as well? And I'm starting to see this across multiple teams, but like the Dodgers jersey, it used to be that the O, so there was the D and the O on the right chest on that piece, and then there was the DGERS over on the left. Well, because they centered everything because of this new design, it literally cuts the middle D, the third letter, which is a D, in half. So if you wear, like some people wear a jersey with it open, it literally cuts the lettering in half, and it looks like shit.
That's terrible.
So I'm going to be interested to see what it'll look like on a Cardinals jersey with that as well. With that cut. I don't know if they're repositioning or not, but I know from a Dodgers perspective, it looks like shit. Hate it.
Dude, yeah, because that's the other thing.
Oh, no. I apologize. I said the third D. It was the first D itself. The actual big, D for the Dodgers is actually split. That's what it is. Yeah.
Wait, so they shifted it over that far?
Yep.
That has to be a defect. That can't be intentional, right?
Let me pull it up. I'm going to pull it up. But seriously, that's what I was looking at the other day, and I just couldn't believe that.
So I do have to say something to this. Is pretty funny.
Yeah.
There was an Orioles rookie apparently that is like is a pitcher, so he's like reporting to the clubhouse for the first time. And there was like this press conference, and they showed it the New Jerseys with his like shit on it, right? And he apparently in front of everybody goes, "Oh, is this a temporary one? Are you stitching the real part?"
Oh my God.
He thought it was. And it's so funny, dude. Every person that I've talked to about this, they go, "It looks like a knockoff." I'm like, "Yeah, it looks like something you get from eBay." Yeah. They're like 100% authentic, shipped from America.
And if that's what they're making the MLB players wear, then when they charge you $350 or whatever for an authentic jersey in the fan shop, it's gonna be that shit quality too. Don't buy it. Don't buy it.
And sorry, I'm going to go back just real quick to correct myself. So I was correct in the sense that it was the third letter, which was the D. Okay. So I put it in our group chat just so you guys can at least hear for Josh and OJ, they can see where that D was literally like spliced. But before it used to be, it was separated.
Jeez, dude.
Yeah. The O and the D used to be separated, but now they've actually they've cut it right in the middle. Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, you can see it. It's terrible.
Yeah.
But look, it's all I'm sure they vastly reduced manufacturing costs with all these terrible changes because they made everything standardized. Like obviously but that's not what people want in baseball. Yeah. People will hate that. They will never buy these jerseys.
Well,
like you fucked yourself. You fucked yourself with this shit.
Well, there have been some people that have even likened these new jerseys to the giveaways that they have at the stadiums.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what it reminds me of. It 100% reminds me of a giveaway jersey.
Look, do you remember the giveaway jersey? You're like, well, you're not mad because it's like, well, it's free, But
if you're heat pressing an emblem onto cloth, that's like the quality of a replica jersey you used to be able to buy for like $70. Sure. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's awful. And they're going to sell it for $300.
Like I would expect that on AliExpress or something, but God, exactly. Not actually,
That's what people are saying. You might as well Just get it from AliExpress. It's the same thing.
There's a sports writer that just came out on Twitter. There's a sports writer that just came out on Twitter and said, I didn't know that the MLB was now sponsored by AliExpress.
There you go.
What do you think the odds are that
Majestics,
instead of manufacturing any of this shit, they just ordered it off from AliExpress?
We could buy this for 99 cents from China. Exactly. We'll save a shitload of money.
Just sell it for a markup. Buy $1, sell for 3,000.
Oh, God. Those poor little Vietnamese hands that are putting this shit together. Oh my God. You know, some dude at AliExpress shit his pants when he's like, "Hey, we got this massive order for MLB jerseys." So,
God, I would if I was a Dodgers fan, I would be really fucking mad about that.
Isn't that stupid though? So you see
how it's
separate like that.
He spent $500 million on two people, and I'm gonna have this like really shitty jersey to wear. Like, oh my God.
Yeah, dude. I bet they have nicer shit in Japan.
I bet they do.
The Japanese wouldn't do this to their baseball players.
No way.
They respect the game too much over there.
Yeah.
Oh. Anyways, yeah, they just look like knockoffs.
It's terrible,
it's bad.
And I certainly hope that the biggest thing is like what OJ was saying earlier is the fans need to react and not purchase this crap. I mean, I wouldn't purchase it anyway. But to send a message to Major League Baseball, this is not the direction we wanted to go in at all.
Yeah.
So don't buy this crap. It's just utter crap. And I guarantee you, if people start, talking or, speaking back or using their wallets to kind of give the voice their opinions, I certainly hope that Major League Baseball realizes they took it and they a step too far,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So these are just, ugh.
It's hard to find good jersey manufacturers these days. It's a shame.
Yeah.
Because it's expensive and nobody wants to pay for it.
They've all been bought out by Fanatics and like Lids and shit like that. It's all giant corporate crap now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's hard to find good stuff.
I just couldn't imagine. Jeez. Fanatics is the worst of the worst when it comes to quality. I mean, they are just absolute crap.
Because they have like no competition. That's the problem.
You're right.
Yeah.
Break up monopolies. Let's go.
All right, guys. Well, let's shift off here about the Cardinals uniforms because we all are in agreement here that this is they're absolute garbage, right?
Yep.
Yeah, we got our list.
And let's go ahead and transition here and talk a little bit about the UFL here and some big news here.
Mm-hmm.
AJ McCarron has been released by the Cincinnati Bengals. And I'm going to read some stuff here.
No. He actually requested this from my understanding.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's two things specifically about this. Sources have stated that McCarron will sign. This is multiple sources that are around McCarron. McCarron hasn't posted anything or is publicly said anything, but sources have stated that McCarron will sign with the Battlehawks as soon as next week. We don't know what that looks like. But the New York Post, it was the first report that McCarron actually asked the Bengals for release so he can go play in the UFL. He specifically requested that. And he said it before. Go on.
And I just want to say, and the big news too, is that Nick Tiano was released by the Battlehawks as well, who was our QB1 for the Battlehawks. That was the big first news.
He was released before it, yeah.
Yeah, he was released before that news came out. So I'm assuming that there were some rumblings that were happening internally that this was going to happen. So they released Tiano. And then the news came out that McCarron was being released by the Bengals. And now, so that pretty much just confirms what we suspected will more likely be. Because he said, if I'm coming back to the UFL, I'm going to come back to St. Louis.
Cool.
That's what he said.
That's awesome.
So that opens that door. And
we're the Yankees of the UFL.
I mean, that's a significant boost for us for sure, because that brings back a high caliber player into the fold, but also it elevates our team's profile and our competitive edge in the league, I mean, his leadership, experience, the fact that, it all is invaluable to us. And I really look forward to capitalizing on this momentum. And, he had an MVP season last year. So it's going to be exciting. Even more of a reason to sell seats to the Battle Dome. If you haven't heard too, just wanted to point it out, they opened up even more seating in the 400s. This should hopefully even spark even more sales, and so we can start setting records as well.
If I'm not mistaken, they're putting new turf in too. Right?
That is correct.
Yes, they are.
I'm glad you brought that up because they're using some of the money that was owed to the city from Stan Kroenke, from the lawsuit settlement, and some of that money was given to the Dome, and part of it was to upgrade their turf, which if you've been to the Dome lately, their turf is in really rough shape. So I'm looking forward to new turf for the new season. So thanks, Stan.
And apparently Randy Carricker, who obviously absolutely hates Stan Kroenke with a belligerent passion, right, wrote a thank you note, like actually wrote a letter and sent it to him thanking Stan Kroenke for the new turf. He said, and apparently in the letter he goes, I don't think we'll name the field Stan Kroenke, but maybe, I'm not joking, but maybe we'll name a bathroom after you.
We'll name a urinal or a shitter after you. We'll put your name on it.
Urinal cake.
Urinal cake. It'll be your face. That'd be great. Upgrade and make sure all the urinal cakes have a picture of him.
Yeah. All the urinals have Stan Kroenke face painted in the bottom.
Why are we not doing this? We need to sell this idea.
Know that would sell. And if have the Stan Kroenke toilet paper as well for sale outside of the Dome,
yes.
That shit would sell out in a heartbeat.
I'd buy a roll. I mean, it would probably be like $5 a roll. But
have Stan Kroenke's picture on there.
Yep. Hey, dude, honestly, who we could get to do it? It's probably Fanatics, because it's probably the same material they use them for the jerseys.
Just use their leftover material, since it's probably about as good as the only use that we can get out of is toilet paper.
I think that the NHL's jerseys are going to be going to them next year. People were saying it's basically going to end fighting in hockey because they're just going to rip as soon as somebody tries to grab a hold of each other.
I hope to God not. Please don't fuck with this weather, man.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it is a thing, because it's been Adidas, and that's the other thing they were saying is that it's the same plant as Majestic used to make them in. So, it's literally just they got bought out by Fanatics, and that's the same deal with what's going on with the NHL, I think they bought a plant or whatever from Adidas or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same equipment, same plant, probably mostly the same people. So it's clearly they're coming in, they're cutting corners everywhere, and then be like, all right, let's sell this shit to these idiots. That's clearly their management.
Now that there's no competition, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
By the way, just wanted to give you an update. So on that whole upgrade of the Dome, it's a $1.1 million deal with AstroTurf for the installation of the new turf in August of 2024. So this will not actually be in place for the new season, but it will be there. And this comes after the fact that there were many fans voicing concerns over the aesthetics of the current turf, which has been around since 2010. So it is definitely old, needs to be replaced for sure. So it'll be a 30-day installation period, void of any events. The new turf promises to breathe fresh life into the stadium and reflecting the dynamic and evolving nature of the game and its surroundings. So interestingly enough, the funding for this project did not tap into the $70 million settlement received from litigation from the Rams, according to this. I don't know how they got the money. Interesting.
Yeah.
Where's that money going?
I don't know.
What are we going to do with that?
I don't know. But anyway, it's cool because it will also breathe more, like they said, breathe more life into it. The fact that we're also adding additional seating level, additional seating as far as opening up more seating in the 400 level. And I also had seen this year that they were opening up suites and party rooms and whatnot, and they were selling those as well. Whereas last year, I don't recall them having those available. So that's cool that they were starting to sell the suites and the party rooms and whatnot for corporations and everything else. So that's a really cool thing. So that means that they're building, the team and the team base and the fact.
Know what I'm doing for my birthday party?
Yeah, hell yeah. So, and the price of to go to a game is as cheap as $19 in the 400s.
Yes.
So you can't not go to the game. I mean, there's no reason for you not to. It's $19. Go to the game.
Absolutely.
So, and I'm excited to come back and on what is it, March? Well, we're not going to be there on March 30th, but I know we're going to be in Michigan on March 30th. But I think week 2 is our big opener, so I'm excited about that. So they released the new schedule, and so it's going to be like every other week we're going to be at home. This is going to be interesting.
Yeah, we have what they call God, I forget what it's called, but this used to be a thing that the NCAA football did for a long, long time before, obviously traveling modes were much easier and cheaper and stuff like that. But they did a home and away. That was literally how it was scheduled out every game.
Oh,
so like a home away, home away. It was like,
I think they call it a home and home, right? Where you're home and then you play at the other guy's home. That's what you're talking about.
But that's not what they're doing. A home and away is what you're referring to. But I'm saying is like back at like the early, like the 30s and the 40s for NCAA football, when you were scheduling out your opponents, it would be you have a home game, you have a away game. So like now there's a little bit easier of a schedule for Mizzou football, for example. Obviously they have now, instead of 8, they will have 9 SEC opponents that they have to face. So they have 3 other games that they can schedule wherever. But they could make those home games. They could make those away games. It wouldn't matter to them at this point. But back in the day, everything was like scheduled out. You know what I mean? So you could say, hey, we want to take on Alabama, but it would have to go in your away slot. You see what I'm saying? For like if you were challenging another school from a bigger conference and stuff like that. So I can't remember.
It's like an alternating schedule, basically, is what's happening here, which is going to be interesting. So it actually makes, at least from a fan perspective, especially if you have season tickets, which like I do here, it's going to be really easy because it's like I just know every other weekend I'm going to be at the
Battlehawk game. Yep.
Yeah, it's a Battlehawk game every other weekend. So it kicks off in St. Louis at home versus the champions, Arlington Renegades, at 7 p.m. on the 6th of April. And that'll be our first home opener. Some interesting key home games to also look for would also be against Houston Roughnecks on the 4th. And it also, we end the season against the San Antonio the Brahmas on June the Brahmas, whatever, on June the 1st. And also some very exciting news on top of that is that after the regular season, which is going to be 10 games, right?
10 games, correct. Mm-hmm.
After all of that wraps up, then 4 teams from each league then go to the conference championship games, and they will be taking place on June 8th and June 9th. And then the UFL championship game will be taking place on June the 16th. And if you haven't heard the news, St. Louis is the chosen city to be chosen. That will be hosting the UFL championship. So damn right, the Battlehawks better be there in the championship game and win on home turf. So
I agree.
I think that'd be awesome.
Even if they're not there, I'm probably going to the championship game to say that I went to the championship game. I think that'd be pretty cool.
I think so.
But I think that it'll be the Battlehawks in there.
I definitely think so, especially now that AJ's coming back, and I'm looking forward to that. So it's going to be a good to get some more football under our belts as well, because right now, for us, at least for me, it's hockey season. Football's wrapped up for me, so it's hockey season. Obviously going to be starting some soccer here in the next couple of months. But also the fact that we have spring football is super exciting. So
absolutely. You're right into college football.
Right into college football. So we have football all year long. So at least for me. Well, not for you, but for me. Football all year long. So I love it.
Well, speaking of City, right, and we're talking about that starting, let's go ahead and jump into that segment here. Not much to talk about, other than the fact that go on, OJ.
Oh, nothing. I was just saying, let's talk about City.
Yeah, they are now in the CONCACAF Champions Cup, so it's kind of a really weird format for the CONCACAF. So if anybody does it,
you mean CONCACAF?
CONCACAF.
Yeah.
CONCACAF.
CONCACAF. It's like
CONCACAF or CONCACAF. I mean, I guess okay, yeah. That's the way that I
Doesn't end with
that's a good point. Yeah. So CONCACAF. Okay. So CONCACAF. Essentially they're taking the CONCACAF region that you would use for like the Olympics and stuff like that, or for the World Cup, which is going to be Canada, United States, Mexico, Cuba, a few parts of South America, but not really that much, and then pretty much all of like Central America, besides once you get toward like the Brazil territory and stuff. They will be facing off against each other. And there's kind of a weird way that they did it. So you have like 5 teams that automatically got like bids to like get these buys. And it had to do with them winning their championship or winning the what was it, the MX Liga Cup, which was Inter Miami CF won that. So there's 5 teams that essentially get a first round bye, but then there's really weird things because when they have seeded teams, there's 3 of them that are seeded. Then you have pot 1 and pot 2. We are in the second pot. We will be having a home and away game against Houston Dynamo. If we win that game, then we are paired up against the Columbus Crew, who obviously won MLS. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. But we obviously did well against Houston. I'm hoping our team can do well.
We were unbeaten against Houston, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of our off-season stuff has looked incredibly positive. So it looks like the City's going to be able to pick up right where they left off.
Yeah, so.
I'm excited for that. But the first leg is on the 20th, so here in 5 days. The second leg is a week later on the 27th. If for anybody that doesn't watch a lot of international soccer, is what they do for this is you have a home and away. So one game will be played. I think we are the home team first. I think. Let me double check on that. It doesn't matter.
That would make sense,
we're designated.
The fact that we are home and we're at City Park.
Yeah. Yeah. Are we at City Park on the 20th?
We are. Yeah, we are. On the February 20th, we're in St. Louis at City Park. Yep.
Okay, cool. So then we're the home team. So then you play that one game and then you play what's on aggregates. If you guys don't know what that means is, so like say City wins 2-0. The next game essentially starts 2-0 in favor of St. Louis. That means that Houston would have to score 3 goals without conceding a goal to us for it to be pushed on. This way too, they'll play like extra time, but they're not going to go to shootouts and stuff like that. You just play your standard 90, and then they'll do the 15-minute halves for OT. If everything is still tied after both games, after both legs on aggregates, then it'll go to a shootout after that. That's a very standard way that they've done everything for international soccer for a very long time. So the 20th at City Park should be fun. Hopefully we can get up to a blistering start and get a couple goals ahead of Houston on some aggregate. That'd be amazing.
That'd be great. Like you said, we've already done pretty well against Houston. Obviously, we're unbeaten. We're unbeaten against them, so that's definitely fueling anticipation for that. For City's performance, and looking forward to it.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to that too, because they did acquire some new players. They got a couple backs, which is something I thought was an area of need last year. I thought their guys they had kind of got burned a little too much sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
But they signed a couple of guys. There's supposed to be. They had got this guy named Nicholas Dyer, Dayhr. But these guys are both playing in European leagues, I believe, and we signed them. So, and then we got Tomasz Totland. So those are left and right back, respectively. So I'm kind of curious to see how they play with potentially a stronger back line. And they also got they traded for a more defensive-minded midfielder, Chris Durkin from DC United. So there's some new faces that are expected to play a big role. So it'll be interesting to see what they do in this competition as well.
Yeah, and this is going to be their first kind of exposure to it, so I'm excited. It's going to be interesting to see how City comes out and plays, and especially, I kind of feel bad for City in a certain way because you had so much success in your first season. It's like, how do we replicate that and how do we duplicate it? You know what I mean? Or are we going to regress to the mean? But we don't know what the mean for the team is. Are they going to be a consistent contender? And they look like it. They really do. Like for the preseason games they've had for their friendlies, they look pretty damn good. So, I mean, who knows what's going to end up happening there? But you hope that they can at least continue to make some noise in the West, you know what I mean, and be consistent in that aspect of things where it's not like, okay, this is a one and done thing, because that would really stink, obviously.
I think it would be sick if they won CONCACAF. That'd be pretty crazy, wouldn't it?
Oh, that would be a huge feather into our cap.
Insane, dude.
Yeah.
I just wanted them to win one freaking, playoff game. Damn.
Yeah.
So, I mean, hell, that'd be great.
Hey, I can dream big.
100%, dude.
Yeah, with a unfortunately, not to, throw salt in the wound, but after unfortunately a disappointing, ending to last season, in that sense, I would love for them to come out strong and show up like that for sure.
Well, I think they have a good chance to win this game because Ted Uncle is not reffing the game. So
that'll help. That'll probably help.
Wait a minute. Why are you giving him crap? He received ref of the year.
Yeah.
He received ref of the year in MLS, which was the stupidest.
That's probably what they gave him for
it.
fixing that game.
God.
They're like, yo, St. Louis is making our league look like a joke. You gotta stop them.
Yeah.
That's what that was. So, yeah, you saved our league, Ted Uncle. Good job, ref of the year.
Perfect yes, man. God.
Absolutely.
All right, guys. Well, let's head here to our mailbag. So we actually have some questions by the listeners here, and we will definitely talk about those and get our thoughts. So this one's from John. Question is, will St. Louis ever get an NFL team again? And if so, when will that happen? Yeah. So John, this is a loaded question of if we would ever get to an NFL team. Does anybody want to start, or you guys want me to start?
I'll start. I mean, I'm of two minds on this because, on one hand, I really think that ESPN prefers for St. Louis folks to just root for the Chiefs. Like, they'd rather consolidate that market because, there's not enough people in both cities to make it as valuable splitting them up. So from that end, at least as long as ESPN is buttering the NFL's bread, I don't think so. I think they would rather have an extra team in California or something where there's more population density. I think that's kind of how they view it, even though St. Louis certainly is a bigger city and a more attractive media market than some cities that already have teams. And from that perspective, you might see them move on somebody here someday, but or expand here or something. But it'll be long after the people that live through the move are really have much influence. They're going to wait for the younger generation to have a stronger voice because they know that we're not going to just, have some nice little lease agreement with the owner or whatever. We're going to lock those motherfuckers in. So they're going to do it when it's advantageous for them.
Yeah.
If they do it at all. So I think you're looking at 20, 30 years before we even potentially see one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. For me, it's, I think our chances are very, very slim for the, definitely the next 10, 20 years for sure. Because first of all, if you look at it from an expansion of the NFL per se, that doesn't really happen very often. The frequency of that occurring is very slim. And on top of that, St. Louis would certainly not be on their top 5 list for sure right now. We would have a better chance, I think, of maybe a relocation, because of market considerations or stadium issues or something. Because the fact is, we can continue to prove we have a football base, or we have a fan base here that is eager for football. Obviously, that's the reason why the Battlehawks, continue to come back in every iteration of the XFL or UFL or whatever. So I think that we've proven that, but you would also need a team, though, that is looking to move, first and foremost. And then the other part of it too is the economic and like the political willingness of it as well. You would actually have to get some buy-in from the city and the business support, like the business community support, really, for funding of that, whether it's going back in the dome or not. They would, maybe if they could take some of the money through this lawsuit and pump it into the dome and bring the facilities up to snuff and make it a kind of a if they had the ability to bring it up to code, so to speak, like more of a state of the art type of facility, because and I'm afraid that wouldn't even cut it, because we see the type of stadiums that they're building nowadays. We just saw Allegiant Stadium.
Billions and billions and billions of dollars put into
stadiums.
They're
spending billions of dollars.
Yeah, I don't
for
think we
these
would be able to
ridiculous
get
stadiums. And I just don't see that happening in St. Louis. And let's face it, I don't think the more I think about it, I don't think the dome is going to be the answer for that. It's just too old. No. And someone's not going to move their team here and go into the dome. It's just not going to happen. So you would have to build another stadium. And who's going to fund a $2 billion stadium in St. Louis? Is the market large enough to even justify that in St. Louis? So I think
you could.
Well, but I'm not talking about from a fan perspective as far as the people that will show up to the game. We don't have that problem. But compared to LA, the fact is that their market value is so much larger in LA than it would be in St. Louis, because we're a tiny market. We're a tiny TV market, and that's going to be something that you have to consider as well. If you were to even relocate a team, do you think they're going to relocate a team from a larger city to a smaller market?
Well, that's what I was saying. There are cities that are smaller than St. Louis that have teams. Sure. Kansas City being one of them.
Yep.
Obviously they're not going to relocate Chiefs anytime soon.
No.
But like, I know Jacksonville's come up. I don't know what their deal is, but that's probably when you could see. Buffalo potentially.
No way, Buffalo's leaving.
Oh my God,
that would be insane. Owner that wants to move it. I'm telling you, it's a small
city.
Well, no, and
listen, you're 100% right, OJ.
Yeah, but
you're 100% right. It comes down to you're fine, and it comes down to the ownership group, right? My thing is definitely not. To expand even for the NFL at this point in time, it doesn't make any sense. You're going to go from 32 teams to 34? How would that make sense? Like, you're literally then you're going to have to expand by 8, but then you have 5 teams in each division. How do you do that? You're not going to be able to really expand massively into everything. And the reason why I say 8 is you're going to have to put 1 into each division, because if not, then somebody's getting screwed with, it's going to be harder for those teams to be able to get in. We saw that with MLB for a long time, with the NL Central being unbalanced. I know we had more teams, and the AL West had 4 teams, in that, meaning you have a 25% chance compared to a 20% chance. And if every team's competitive, that 5% makes a massive difference on your playoff projections, right? Not to mention, just wins and legacies and stuff like that. The other thing about it is there's no effing way, even if a team wanted to relocate to St. Louis, there's no possible way that the NFL would do that, because then they would be admitting that they were wrong. They would be admitting that the reason why Stan Kroenke moved was for money. It was not for the fact that we didn't have an ownership and all that stuff, blah, 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 blah. It's specifically towards that it would be, okay, we left because of money. Oh, now there's a team in there. Oh, now it's advantageous. Why would it now be all of a sudden advantageous? Because the Battlehawks came to town? What? Right. Because those people are going to show up anyways, because we literally all those people came in, and remember, Adam, on an opening day, Stan Kroenke was the first thing we were screaming during the player introductions.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So like, come on now. You know, like it was a defiant thing, but it's because we wanted football here. But what Stan Kroenke was putting out on the field was absolute dog shit because he wanted attendance to be down so he could use it as an excuse to uproot the team. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
And they still sold that shit to like 80% capacity every game. Like they were making plenty of money. But that's what I'm saying.
Every time you would see on TV.
And they were even willing to give him a stadium too.
Yeah, 100%.
That's what I'm saying.
But I'm telling you, every time they show it on TV and they're like on ESPN, wherever, they're like, look, it's pretty empty on this blah, blah. They pick the worst section. And it's just like, why are you always showing like the upper deck for all this shit? And it's like in one section. You go down and all these seats are filled still. You know what I mean? But like you're putting a really shitty, like you're really putting just a shitty team on the field. So, and then all of a sudden, everyone's just like, oh, well, the Rams are, in the Super Bowl now that they moved to LA. Bullshit. It's because the owner wanted to open up his fucking wallet a little bit and start fucking actually attacking the salary.
Okay. If they want to bitch about attendance, what about the fact that the Rams have a very low attendance from Rams fans as well? They still do. Yep. And that's in LA. So I don't even want to hear attendance problems because LA has attendance problems
in LA.
Absolutely, they do.
Jeez.
They don't. Typically speaking, for LA, for Rams games, the opposing team has more fans there than Rams fans.
My God.
Yeah.
So what was it all for?
Wife,
right?
Hold on, real quick. Matthew Stafford's wife has come out on Twitter several times stating that she is tired of her husband playing in 17 away games a season. Yep. Because
that's literally what it is.
Yeah. And they share a stadium with the Chargers, and it's worse for the Chargers. You know what I mean? Like, because it's not their
the Chargers are outdrawing them. No fucking way.
The Chargers aren't outdrawing them, but the Chargers are in that stadium as well.
Oh, okay. I thought you said they were drawing worse than the Chargers also. But okay.
No. It's worse for the Chargers, like the draw is.
Oh, yeah. No, because I know nobody. I remember from when that move happened. Everybody in LA was like, "We send us the Raiders or nothing. We don't care about the Rams. We don't care about the Chargers." You know what I mean? But
now figured it'll be interesting to see next year because obviously there is this big, there's this big expectation that the Rams are going to take this major leap forward supposedly next year. We'll see how that affects it and whatnot as well. But anyway.
Yeah. They're already sick. They just won a Super Bowl and they're already not showing up.
Yeah, they won a Super Bowl a couple years ago, 2 years ago.
That's embarrassing.
Yeah, they beat out the Bengals that game. Yeah.
All to make some rich guy richer.
Yep. So the answer, John, is no.
No. Yeah, probably won't happen. I just don't see the NFL wanting to be put in that situation again with St. Louis.
I would tell at least like 30 years because most of the owners will be dead by then. Goodell will be dead by then. Like then they might.
And you don't know what the city looks like then either. You know what I mean? 100%. Exactly. You're going to recess at that point. Yeah.
So my option then to John would be go ahead, buy some tickets to the Battlehawks, and when you go to the game, scream "fuck Stan Kroenke" as loud as you can, and support that team. There you go. That's my advice.
Yeah. Mizzou's going to be gunning for the college football playoffs next season.
That's true.
Too, so
that is true.
They're worth a watch. Let's go,
MIZ.
Oh, absolutely.
ZOU. I didn't go there. I don't feel like I should be doing it.
I will cheer on Mizzou.
Well, I will say this too, OJ. I know you don't watch the NFL or whatever, but Nick Bolton, who is the starting middle linebacker for the for the Chiefs, he has been the starting. Yeah, exactly. He is his rookie year, and this is his second year, and he's a two-time champion now. Just saying, and he looks phenomenal. He leads that defense. So I just got to say, great product.
I remember watching him on the.
Yeah.
I remember watching him on the Zoo. He was a hell of a linebacker. Like their defense took a major step back the year he went into the draft.
He left, yeah.
So,
all right, guys, let's get to the second question here. The second question comes from Chris. Can the NCAA still punish Michigan for the sign stealing issue? Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, they're still investigating. That's what OJ. As far as I know, what they're doing is they're still officially investigating it. So I don't believe. So there probably is some form of punishment coming in the future, but how long it'll be, we don't know. It took them 6 years on the Kansas one, I think. It's like 6 years, some crazy long time. And then the punishment rarely fits the crime either. So I wouldn't hold my breath on the punishment happening. And when it does happen, I wouldn't expect it to be a whole lot. So.
Yeah, and that's kind of my thought process too. It's already, as sad as it is, it's already over and done with at this point because they won the national championship. And that's what my bitch and gripe was about this, that, everyone was trying to condemn the Big 12 or Big 10 for, banning Harbaugh for 3 games, which was such a stupid ass punishment when you're going up against no-name teams. The only team that you're going up against was Ohio State at home, which I get. That's a big game. That's a big emotional game and all that stuff too. I totally understand that. But people are like, oh, they're taking the law in their own hands. Because at some point it could happen, as you just said, OJ, 6 years down the road, they go, okay, so we got our findings. That championship is vacated. But the problem is they've just gotten millions of dollars from their fucking boosters from winning the national championship. They get all this merchandising rights for selling the T-shirts, selling the hats for national championship, all this bullshit that happens out of it, all the accolades from having first and second round draft picks on a consistent basis from this is a championship team. They're going to vacate that. It doesn't fucking matter at that point. I mean, it's just like OJ Simpson when he or not even OJ Simpson, Reggie Bush, when Reggie Bush had to vacate his Heisman. Did it really matter? No, it didn't matter. Everyone knew that he was still a phenomenal player. He had to vacate it for like some NCAA for taking money or something. But it didn't matter at that point because it happened like he had already pretty much retired in the NFL. So who gives a shit? And that's just kind of my problem with it is I think that they will do something, but it's going to be years later on. And I think that the NCAA, because Michigan is one of their star children, they're going to wait until they're already on okay, they're not projected to win. They've lost 2 games or they're not supposed to or whatever. Now we're going to punish them saying that they can't play this year or they can't get into the playoffs this year when they, weren't going to get into playoffs anywhere. Anyways, Adam, you were saying something?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of reminds me, obviously, a little bit of what the news that came out recently in the 2022 Winter Olympics in Beijing. If you had been here, if you had heard the news, but basically, Russia was accused of doping. They did all this investigation, but that's kind of the point here: is that it's going to take a while. And it could take months or even years, like it did here, for them to finally come out. And the Olympic Committee finally said they announced that basically they were stripping Russia of the gold medal and they were awarding it to the Americans. But at that point, it was a little too late. It was 2 years past that point. And let's face it, even if they do come out years later and they find that they violated the rules, what are the sanctions really going to be? Are they going to even really be all that? Are they going to be just some sort of formal reprimand or some fines or whatever? I mean, I really don't see them banning them from, any kind of postseason play or even stripping them of the title. But the thing is that Michigan even has the ability to, of course, appeal that. And if they appeal it, that could take a long time too for the appeals committee to go through. And so they could drag this on for a very long time going forward. But really, what's interesting is the public relations impact from my perspective, because how do the rest of the NCAA, the fans of the NCAA, how do they perceive Michigan? Are they going to be tarnished? To me, that in itself tells me whether or not they are respected or not. And to me, I would rather go in and win a championship and do it cleanly. And to kind of make that reference like you did earlier, Josh, you said at the beginning of the podcast, at least the Chiefs won the Super Bowl and they've done it multiple times and they did it without cheating, in reference to, of course, the Patriots.
Spygate and shit, yeah.
Spygate and all that. So I would say from a public relations impact, I would hate to play for Michigan personally because they would be tarnished with that integrity problem. But at the same time, the damage is done. They've already received the title. Mm-hmm. They've already received the championship. So it's unfortunate because that's going to impact a lot of the other younger youth.
Yeah.
And it's for those teams that really could have possibly won and that could have impacted their futures. And there's nothing you can do about that. There's nothing you can say or do that's going to change the outcome unless you literally have a time machine and go back and somehow fix all this before it happened, which we know that's impossible right now. So therefore, the damage is done. The more than likely nothing's of relevance is going to come out, but the damage is also done to their reputation, in my perspective, whenever it comes to their reputation within the NCAA.
The only thing. Go on, OJ. Sorry.
Now Harbaugh's gone too, so now they
can
try and claim, oh well,
and I'm telling you
anymore. The cheater left.
Yeah, and I'm telling you right now, everyone's just like, oh, this was the perfect time for Harbaugh to leave. Yeah, because he doesn't want. He's going to get caught. That this shit happened. He left when it was advantageous for him to leave. He's been offered NFL jobs every fucking year, but all of a sudden now it's advantageous for him to leave. Get out of here. And the last thing I have to say, and I keep hearing this, and it's just starting to really piss me off. All these people are like, well, don't punish the kids. Don't punish the kids. Listen, they're fucking men. They're over 18 years old. They're 19, 20. And yes, they probably don't have anything. I'm talking about this, just the Michigan guys, right? They obviously, I believe that they didn't have any knowledge or any say of what was going on here, right? However, look at this in like a business perspective. You go to work for AIG. Okay, go to work for AIG. You get out of college. You're all excited. You're in this stuff. Then Bernie Madoff hits, and AIG gets shut down. You lose your job. It's not going to be, well, poor me as the employee of this. They're going to be like, well, tough shit. Like, you're going to have to go find a different job because that job doesn't exist anymore.
And what about the other kids?
Nobody liked that.
And what about
nobody likes
the other
too big
kids,
to fail, right?
That's my point. What about all the other kids that got screwed over because they did cheat?
Exactly.
Well, I'm with you there.
Why are they not shouldn't that be the question, in my opinion?
Yeah,
the people that got screwed over.
Everyone's
not
so
the people
fucking
that
worried
got
about
cheated.
the Michigan kids.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, it's like if I committed a crime. Oh no, poor Adam. He's going to have to go to jail for 5 years. What is his family going to do without him at Christmas?
People do that.
What about the victim?
People do that though. That's what's crazy. Until you actually give them the specifics of the crime, and then all of a sudden they feel a little differently. You know what I mean? But
what about the poor victims of the crime?
Yeah, to be one of those players that played against them, it must feel surreal to be like, I was the one wronged here, and everyone feels bad for them.
Yeah, why are they playing the victim card? I'm sorry, but they don't get to play the victim card. Yeah. They are guilty by association. Sorry, but that's the way it works.
Because, it is a little suspicious. From what I read is, you have this guy that supposedly his role is a recruiter, or a recruiting coordinator or something like that,
and they directly benefited from the scandal.
From cheating.
From cheating. Yeah. Those kids directly profited from that.
What I'm saying is they're there on the sideline too. They see this guy that they probably damn well know probably shouldn't even be there, sitting there discussing shit with the coach. They had to at least thought something was funny about it. I'm not laying any culpability at their hands because, if it was me, I'd probably just shrug my shoulders unless I actually heard what they're saying. Like if I heard them being like, all right, they're running this or something, I'd be like, all right, we're fucking cheating. But I would definitely have my curiosity piqued, if I was one of them. So it's not like they're completely in the fucking dark on it. I bet you some of them did know. I bet you some of them did know too. I kind of feel like they might have, but just because the guy was on the sideline during games at times. So I wonder if
how else would you be able to know that information and how to implement the information without some sort of red flags going up here? You know what I mean?
Well, you're just running the plays they're calling, right? Because you don't need to know why the coach is calling the play he's calling, right? You just execute it. But given the fact that he's on the sideline during some games, I just, if he's really actually communicating with these coordinators what the other team's going to run, then some of the players probably heard that. So,
well, either way, it doesn't matter if they did or they didn't. The fact is that the organization as a whole should be punished, and that includes everyone involved.
Yeah, as a deterrent, if nothing else, because the real problem with having this too big to fail mentality towards these major schools, the blue bloods essentially, is that it basically gives them the license to cheat. So it gives them an 100%. Even extra advantage over the other people because they can do more brazen shit because they know they'll get away with it. Like if Mizzou does the same shit, they get the death penalty.
I'm not going to put this in the same perspective. Like, I'm going to put this in, I guess, in the same perspective just to use the correlation, but obviously it's not the same here. But like during WW2, Mussolini, is dictating in Italy. There's a woman that comes in to report on him or whatever and like do a story. He ends up, sexually harassing her and raping her or whatever, and then he literally leaves the office after this, and after leaving her on the ground, and he goes, "What are you going to do about it? I'm Mussolini." That's kind of what it feels like with Michigan. Like, we're gonna cheat. We're gonna do this shit to you. What are you gonna do about it? We're in the Big Ten. We're part of. We're Michigan.
Right. You want to cut into that money? Like, all this shit came out before before the game, right? And people are like, "Oh, what are they gonna do to Michigan?" Like, all that shit. It's like they're not gonna jeopardize that revenue. They're not gonna jeopardize the revenue of Michigan being in the playoffs. It's all about the money.
Yeah. It's crazy, but I think that the question, to answer the question here is, yes, they can still be punished. Will they get punished? Probably, but it's not going to make up for what happened, obviously.
Yeah. And for all the people also that want to say like, oh, due process, this, that, the other thing, like, yeah, you get your trial and everything, but a lot of times, guess what? You're sitting in jail waiting on that trial unless you can post bail.
Right.
So if you do something bad enough, you're not in society free to commit more crimes until you're actually cleared of charges, even though despite the fact that you have a presumption of innocence, right? Until proven guilty. So the same thing here. If you have strong enough evidence, which we do, that they're doing something that is actively harming the integrity of the game this season, we should probably take some sort of at least temporary measures to stop that,
I agree. That's why I felt that they should have suspended or okay, cool. You can play the games, but you ain't getting into the CFP. Like, that's taken off the table. I really felt that should have been the mandation. But anyways,
I agree. I would have loved
to
swap them out for Florida State, or better yet, Georgia, because Georgia probably would have won the whole thing. I think. But
I agree. Let's move to the last question we have here in the mailbag here. This is from Tony. Should you root only for your local sports teams by default, like i.e. Mizzou and SLU, or is it okay for you to root for a different team? And I will start on this one. So this has been like a question that's gone around quite a bit within my softball group and stuff. The funny thing about this is, like, yes, I support Mizzou and I support SLU, but I do have other affiliations. My stepsister went to Florida State. My sister went to Clemson. We have ties to Duke. There's going to be teams that I'm going to root for beyond like Mizzou. I am also a Notre Dame fan, although I've kind of lost a little bit of my luster for Notre Dame. And the reason why is because, like, growing up, it's the Fighting Irish, and I knew I was Irish, so I loved it. I mean, I love their gold helmets. I love South Bend. Like, it was a really cool stadium. There are teams that I'm going to root for, but it's like, the hard affiliation that people have. It's like, okay, we were born in a certain area, so like I need to be a Rams fan, even though they're no longer in St. Louis. Yeah, fuck Stan Kroenke, fuck the Rams. Like, I'm gonna find a different team. I've always had affiliation to Broncos and stuff. The issue that I have with this specifically is when people bandwagon to a certain team without any real reasoning for it. There's a lot of fans in St. Louis that are Patriots fans, and a lot of fans in St. Louis that are Alabama fans. And the reason why, and this is not to put anybody into a certain box because it's not the case all over the place, but it's because they win. St. Louis is a spoiled sports town where we are used to the Cardinals' success, and so we want to hitch our wagon, especially when we don't have like a football team and stuff like that. Here, we want to hitch our stuff to a winning program, which is going to be, Patriots or whatever. People thought awesome with Tom Brady and shit, So I think that it's kind of it's not a gray area, really. It's just a hard thing to do. I think that you should support those teams first and foremost, but if you have a reason to not do it, or if you have other teams that you support, I think that's okay as well. It's all in good. It's whatever you want to do. Who gives a shit?
Well, of course.
You know what I mean?
But the thing is if you're going to support a team that is not from your area, expect that you will be getting some shit
100%,
from people, because that's the way it is. If I was a 49ers fan in Kansas City, I would expect to be getting shit talk from most of the people there, because it's Chiefs Kingdom. That's just how it is, period. That's just like a Cubs fan that relocates here to St. Louis. And I've encountered people that are Cubs fans in the area, and I'm like, what the hell's wrong with you? Yeah. But the thing is if, like you said, some people have a connection to the city, whether they grew up there. Like, say, for example, if I moved to LA, would I just be like, sorry, screw the Chiefs, I'm going to become a Rams fan again, or a Chargers fan? Probably not, because I have a home connection. Not at all, because I have an affiliation with that team, because that's the team from my home state. Same with the Cardinals, same with those teams that I grew up with, in that sense. So obviously we got a bad taste in our mouth from the Rams, so that's kind of a bad example. But the fact is, a lot of people move around, or they have those connections, like you said, because your sister, and her connection with Clemson and others as well, or you may have family that's, in Florida, and you may, or obviously the connection with the Jaguars, because obviously if you have family in the area, Jacksonville, and also the fact that Trevor Lawrence and Etienne also play for them as well, who went to Clemson. And so that makes sense. Oh, I would be a fan of that particular team per se, or at least root for them in those instances that we're not facing them. It's sort of a secondary team. I think a lot of people, I shouldn't say a lot of people, I know of a lot of people, including myself, that have a secondary team outside of our market that we may be fond of. It's not all that uncommon.
100%.
It's actually, I mean, I think that's great. I mean, if you like a sport, you're going to watch it a lot, right? And so you're going to find teams that you enjoy watching.
Exactly.
Even outside of what your local team is. Certainly multiple allegiances is fine. I mean, it's up to you how you prioritize them, right?
Exactly.
Your choice.
Yep. And it's funny because I get so much shit, and people constantly ask me, they're like, there's no way you're a Broncos fan and a Chiefs fan. Like, yes, I'm a Broncos fan and a Chiefs fan. I'm much rather, I pull for the Chiefs right now than the Broncos. But that's because I like Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, and I really don't like the direction that they're going with the Broncos. So I can't really root for them. I'm not a Russell Wilson fan, right? But the reason why I'm a Broncos fan is when growing up and you're playing Madden, you choose your teams. Everybody wants to be the Rams. Well, I don't want to be like, it's not going to be the Rams versus the Rams because I'm, don't want to do that. So you find another team to play as. And my team that I played as was the Broncos. And I loved watching John Elway play. So like that was to me.
A lot of people were Broncos fans, and they still are. And not all that uncommon even in this area that you hear a lot of Broncos fans. So you're not alone in that sense. But so the question is if you're just, I guess, to answer the question as far as it okay to be a fan of any other team, absolutely you can be, but expect that you're going to get shit for it potentially, or questions about it. However,
just tell your story.
Just tell your story and just say, oh, I'm a fan of this because of this. Blah, 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 blah. Usually you have a reason behind that. If your reason is, oh, I just like them because, they win and so I'm a bandwagon fan. Well, I mean, if you admit, hey, I'm just a bandwagoner, then just say it. Okay, whatever. You're a bandwagoner.
There's nothing wrong. Honestly, there's really nothing wrong with that. People just hate it when bandwagoners start talking shit and all that because you don't really have any skin in the game,
Right. Exactly.
So don't talk shit if you're going to bandwagon a team, but
then act like you've been there the whole time. Okay
yeah.
Blackhawk fans. I'm sorry.
So. What fans? Which
fans?
I didn't catch what you said. Oh yeah. Oh yeah,
dude,
yeah.
I got you.
I'm telling you, like back when I used to go to a game in Chicago, a Blues Blackhawk game in Chicago every single year before I got kicked out when a guy gave me 2nd-degree burns on my hand. We used to play buy nacho cheese. I don't know why they served the nacho cheese that hot, but I literally had all the skin dripping off my fucking hand essentially. Dude, that was not great. Anyways, we always play Blackhawk bingo. which was 3 cups in 4 or 5 years, whatever the fuck it was. Who's Nick Chelios? Like, how do you not know? Like, can you name any players besides Jonathan Taze and Patrick Kane, please? We used to play shit like that all the time and just get drunk off of it because it was so funny how many of those fans that had no idea who the fuck any of their players were. So didn't even understand the game of hockey.
Yeah. I mean, that's just the way it goes. I mean, how many people watched, I don't know. I guess I don't want to tell people like how to enjoy themselves, right? I mean, if you get enjoyment out of it, that's fine. There's people that only watch baseball during the playoffs. Like I've talked to people that like that.
Well, and
because they
kind of
think that additional intensity makes it more enjoyable,
That is somewhat, and especially considering the number of baseball games there are in a regular season, it is. I mean, there's no way I don't watch every game. You know what I mean? I don't have the time to watch every single game because I've got other things going on. You know what I mean? I'll watch the more exciting matchups or things that I like that are convenient to me. But obviously, I'm tuning into the playoffs for sure. Or at least I'll catch the highlights of things or whatever. But I understand, people, it's like religion. Some people only show up on the holidays, and that's the same. Same with sports as well,
Mm-hmm.
So obviously people show up on Christmas and Easter. Well, it's the same, they'll show up at the
playoffs
at the playoffs and the championship game,
Like, let me put it this way too. Without the casual fans, that I don't think there's enough diehard fans of any given sport to make it worth all the airtime it gets either. It'd probably be a lot harder to find your team if we only accepted people that were fucking really into it all the time.
Well, you have to have that, and that's what helps generate revenue for sure. I mean,
so
we've seen that a lot of these newbies per se, and not to get into that Swiftie bullshit or whatever however people want to view it, but they draw a shitload of money for tickets, for viewership, and for everything else into the NFL. Whether you like it or not, it doesn't matter. The point is, there's a lot of new fans that are watching the sport because of that, and that in itself helps the sport because it's bringing in revenue for the sport.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think the Taylor Swift thing is
their master plan.
I think the Taylor Swift thing is great also for the fact that you have a lot of young girls that are watching it. They're getting interested in football.
That is cool.
Who knows?
I have to say
one of those young girls. Yeah, one of those young girls that's watching may say, you know what, I want to be a football player, and they could lead because you have Taylor Swift that is all about her feminine prowess. Oh my God, prowess. That sounded bad, but again being a feminist. And rah, we women can do everything. And she's shown it, she's just absolutely dominated, with the pop industry and stuff like that. Who's not to say that one of her followers is not going to be inspired by that to all of a sudden be playing football,
Right.
So I don't know. I think that
and it's cool too, just for dads to be able to have their daughters, come chill with them on the couch and be like, I want to watch football with dad. That's pretty cool, I
wonder why they haven't. I would absolutely watch like a female football league, like if they made one, like how they have the PWHL.
Well, yeah, and they have, they have it with
had
actual
before, but
football, not powder puff bullshit, but play actual football. Like, yeah, I'd be down for that.
My aunt was the coach of one when it was in KC, but unfortunately, again, they just didn't have the sponsorship. They just couldn't get the money.
Yeah, you just don't get that.
Going.
Yeah,
you really need like a backing of the men's league, I think.
Agreed.
I think that's
just like what the NHL's doing with the WHL.
Yeah, exactly. Like you need it. You need that funding. You need that. Really, as much as I hate to say it, you need that touch of legitimacy, essentially, right? Because I think that's one of the big things that stands in like the UFL's way or the XFL prior to that is that it's not seen as like, oh, that's not real football. Like people rate the quality of the product as that of below of college football, despite the fact that most everybody in the UFL now, I guess, has at least been drafted, which you can't say for the vast majority of college players. So like, it's one of those things where it's not even necessarily the quality of the sport that people are as concerned about. It's more of a perception thing. So
100%. And name recognition. They did it. They did a study one time where they took Coca-Cola and then they put in a bunch of different the cups, right? And they said they put down a label that said Coca-Cola on one of them, and they said generic cola. It all was Coca-Cola, but literally 95% of the people said that the Coca-Cola one tasted better than the generic one. And other people, they recorded their reactions where some people were like, "Oh, this is disgusting," and they're like, "Really?" Like, can you explain it? It's like, yeah, it's really sugary or whatever. And it's super funny because it changes your perceptive of what you're drinking. And all of a sudden you learn that it's actually the same thing. You're like, holy shit. Like, that's pretty crazy.
I mean, some of it's setting you up to fail. Like, they need to give you the possibility that it could all be the same, because otherwise people will like imagine differences for sure. If they think they're 100%. Supposed to find something, they'll find it a lot of times, because your brain will be searching. You'll be like really racking your brain. Like, is this different? Yeah, I think so. Yeah, probably it's different. Like I think this one's a little worse. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, 100%. Yeah.
So I'm just saying, to cover your bases, you need to let people know it could all be the same as well, if you're really trying to do the study right, at least in my opinion. But,
no, and you're 100% right. I think, again, they were just trying to, it doesn't matter. I think that was more of a social study than the actual product. You know what I mean? So
yeah. And because it definitely reveals something, so it was worth doing. Sure.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, let's go ahead and head for a sign off here. Yeah, very, very much. And appreciate the questions from the fans as well. Please continue to reach out to us, and very good questions. Feel free to reach out to us any time, and we'll definitely be able to, continue this segment going forward. Adam, would you like to tell the good listeners how they can give us our questions and interact with their show?
Absolutely. They can always reach out to us on Facebook, facebook.com/the Hometown Losers. That's the Hometown Losers spelled LOUSERS on losers. So make sure you type appropriately. Also, just check us out in the search bar too. Type in the Hometown Losers, will pop right up there in your search. And we'd love to have you give us a like. Always posting about new episodes and whatnot. Of course, we'll post some questions out there from time to time. But feel free to, interact with us, post some questions, especially if you like the segment we just went through. We went through the Hometown Losers mailbag. You can also check us out on X, the former Twitter, x.com/Hometown Losers, and do the same. So we'd love to hear from all of our fans.
Absolutely. Keep those questions coming. Appreciate every single person that interacts with our show. OJ, what's the game of the week?
Well, so your St. Louis Blues finished the game just recently by a score 6-3.
Yep,
over Edmonton. So just took a good game against a good team. So they're tied with. Well, they're still tied with the Kings for the same points, and the Kings have 2 games in hand.
Gotcha.
So, but on Saturday, we have a late afternoon game at 4 p.m. against the Predators in St. Louis.
Trashville.
And the Predators are right below us, trying to hop into that wild card picture. So this is a pretty important game. Need to win it for sure. So that's the game of the week. Big hockey game on Saturday at 4.
Very good game selection there, because as you said, that's a very, very big game. We need to build up a bubble between us and any teams below us for sure.
Mm-hmm.
All righty. We're going to do a new little segment here right towards our sign off here. And this is called the Final Whistle Stats Blast. I don't know if actually say it that way.
Stats Blast.
There we go.
Final
Stats
Whistle.
Blast.
So in this one, thank you, OJ. I'm going to be saying just some crazy off the wall facts about sports and or stats and statistics. So I got 2 of them this week, just so we can get our feet wet to this one. This one is nuts. I did not know this. This is weird. Did you know that umpires in the MLB are required to wear a certain color of underwear? They're required to wear black underwear. It is actually in their rule book, in their handbook. And the reason for this is if their pants tears, they're not embarrassed because of like sweat marks or anything that they're wearing. They have to wear plain black underwear. Thought that was the craziest.
If they
weird...
split their pants.
I mean, this
won't be
noticeable. 1800s shit, right? Like, I guess it makes sense
still,
in that context.
I know it's still a rule that is apparently enforced to this day.
Wow,
which is crazy. I don't know, like you have frickin' Manfield going around checking the refs' underwear, like you have for they're like checking for sticky substances and bad to be like, oh, can we check your underwear real quick? Oh, there's that flag.
What are these white boxers doing in your locker?
It feels like a really bad setup for a really bad porno. Just
these have polka dots on it. What are you doing? That's coming out of your paycheck.
Yeah. I feel like this should have been in like a major league movie or something.
Yeah, absolutely.
So anyways, now to more of this. Yeah, something stupid like that. All right, now get to more of a stats side of this. My other one. So the immaculate inning. So if anybody does not know, immaculate inning is when a pitcher throws. I know, we saw it live. So immaculate inning is when a pitcher throws 9 strikes. So they throw 9 pitches, it's 9 strikes, and it's 3 strikeouts. This has only been done 46 times in all of MLB's history. It's a very difficult thing to do. I was kind of surprised it was at as high as it was, but Nolan Ryan has done it 3 times, which is incredible. And obviously Ryan Helsley, as you said, Adam, has done it as well. We witnessed it live.
I didn't even realize what I had witnessed.
What was going on until it happened? Yeah.
Until it happened, because I'm like, wow, this 9th inning is happening very quickly. Like the top of the 9th inning is happening so quickly. I'm like used to everybody, like fouling shit off, some balls here and that. And I'm like, man, this is going really well. I'm like, 1 strike, 2 strike, 3 strike, he's out. 1 strike, 3 strike. And I'm like, holy shit. And I'm like, man, that was a hell of a great, outing for Helsley. And then shortly after, they were like, Ryan Helsley, immaculate inning. I'm like, sure enough, holy shit, I witnessed history. And I think it's we have the stat of how many times this happened for the Cardinals? Isn't it only like 3 times? I think, right?
I'm pretty sure it's 2, which Bob Gibson and Ryan Helsley.
Wasn't it? But doesn't Izzy also do 1? I could be wrong.
Maybe it was 2 for closers. Then I don't know. I could be wrong on that one too. But I thought it was.
I thought it was Izzy and Bob Gibson, and then obviously the one for Helsley as well.
That's could be it.
But it's so rare. I mean, and the fact that I was there and I seen it. Oh my God, that was crazy. That was wild.
That is pretty cool.
Dude, like you don't realize how rare that is, but it is. It's to be able to throw 9 pitches and strike out the side. Yeah.
I'm curious how rare it is to, 3 pitches, 3 outs. Because to me, that's the optimal inning. Like if you're drawing it up, the best way to do it, 1 pitch per out.
You would love to have 27 pitches, 27 outs.
Pitch game. Boom. Awesome.
Yeah.
Someday somebody will do that. If the world lasts long enough, someday someone will accomplish that, and then we could say now we know what a perfect game is.
I guess, there you go. But I guess they call it an immaculate inning because the fact is there was no contact made whatsoever.
Yeah, but I don't think that no contact is immaculate. I want to see.
But they were all strikes. But the fact is that you could throw 9 strikes in a row and not a single one of them was touched.
Yeah, but I mean, also immaculate means it's pretty much as good as it could be. I guess not really. I'm thinking more of a perfect inning. So let's call it a perfect inning, my version.
Okay.
Because that's probably the best possible outcome in all areas from a winning the game perspective. Whereas what yours is free of blemishes. Like you could say he didn't make any mistakes. Yeah, I got you. That's okay. Yeah, I'll give you that.
We'll come up with a new name.
But Josh, that is a stat that you should look up for next time if you can.
I can definitely I'll make a note of that. Yeah.
There you go.
Sweet.
Very cool.
All righty.
I like the new segment.
Yeah.
Learn something.
All right, guys. Right. That's what the whole thing is, just to throw some stuff out there, and hopefully everyone enjoys it. Make sure that we'll be tuning in next week here, wearing our black underwear.
Yes.
Anyways,
on the Hometown Losers.
You're right. I appreciate you guys for sure. I appreciate the listeners as well. as they join and continue in our silliness here. But 45 sessions in the books. So appreciate it. Reach out to our socials so you can be part of that mailbag section. And if you have any other questions or want to see any specific content. So until then, we will see you next time here on the Hometown Losers podcast. Have a great night, everybody.
This is OJ, and I wanted to thank you guys for listening to the equivalent of 3 dudes sitting at a bar talking about sports. We'll catch you next week on the Hometown Losers.